I stepped out of the hospital, sunlight hitting my face like a soft reminder that life was still happening outside those sterile walls. I'd only been in for a minor procedure, nothing serious, but it had given me space. Space to think, to breathe, to pause. As I walked slowly toward the parking lot, I felt something I hadn't in a while. Hope. I tightened my coat and smiled at the thought of my husband waiting in the car. David. He'd been solid through it all, checking in, bringing me soup, rubbing my feet when the nights got long. He's my anchor in this stormy world, I'd told a nurse just 2 days ago. She'd nodded politely, probably used to hearing less romantic stories. But I meant it. We'd been through enough together. And even with the noise in my head about life, work, and my younger sister Sarah suddenly moving in with us, I felt grounded again. Sarah needed a place after her divorce. She was 5 months pregnant and looked like she'd been carrying more than a child, something heavier, something hidden. But I didn't press. Family meant helping when you could, no questions. Sliding into the passenger seat, I caught David's grin in the rearview mirror. He reached over to squeeze my hand. "Ready to go home?" he asked. The drive back was uneventful, quiet, like most drives when words weren't really necessary. A gentle spring breeze pushed through the cracked window, bringing in the scent of fresh dogwoods. They were blooming early this year, lining the neighborhood streets like delicate confetti. I stared out the window, thinking about how long we'd been married. 12 years. That's a lot of time to stack memories on top of each other until you stop checking the foundation. You trust it's still there, still holding. I'd noticed David pulling away lately, longer hours, shorter words, but I chalked it up to stress. Life was messy. People got distracted. He still brought me daisies last week and a foot massage the night before surgery. That meant something, didn't it? I decided I'd cook something special tonight, maybe chicken marsala. Sarah had been craving it, and David loved it. It was a small thank you, a peace offering for everything we'd all been juggling. I just wanted a good evening, a normal one. But as we pulled into the driveway, I patted my coat pocket and realized something was missing. "My charger," I muttered. David turned the engine off. "I'll go grab it." "No," I said, already unbuckling. "I need to walk those halls one last time. Put a period at the end of that stay." He didn't argue, just nodded. I gave him a half smile, kissed his cheek, and backed out of the driveway. The hospital was only 10 minutes away. The sky was still bright, soft light stretching across the horizon. I remember thinking, this day still has good in it. Funny, the things you think before everything changes. The hospital looked smaller now, less important. I knew exactly where I'd left the charger, in the drawer of the bedside table. I walked in, waved at the nurse, said something about forgetting something. She smiled and pointed me down the hall. Charger in hand, I turned to leave, but instead of going back the main way, I veered off, habit maybe, to the side hallway that passed the private waiting lounge. It was quieter there, less traffic. That's when I heard it. A voice. Familiar. Low. Too familiar. "She can't handle the truth, especially not now. Just give me a little more time." I froze mid-step. The voice came from behind the slightly ajar door. I didn't breathe. Then, another voice, higher, anxious. "Sarah. I don't want to hide this baby anymore. I'm tired of lying to her." My heart stopped. Not a beat, not a pause. Stopped. Like everything inside me held its breath. The charger nearly fell from my hand. I didn't move. I couldn't. Inside that room, my husband and my sister continued whispering, their words muffled by carpet and guilt. But I didn't need to hear more. I'd heard enough. The air in the hallway turned stale. The fluorescent lights above buzzed like tiny alarms. My vision tunneled. My knees didn't buckle. My heart did. I walked out. Not rushed, not dramatic. Just quiet. Charger still in my hand, like it mattered. Back in the car, I sat for a long moment before starting the engine. My fingers trembled on the steering wheel. No tears, no screams, just this strange, sharp silence wrapping around everything. The drive home blurred. Not the road, not the trees, just everything else. I thought of every late night, every phone call he said was from work. Sarah's awkward silences, the way she avoided eye contact when I thanked her for helping around the house. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one-time thing. This had planning behind it. Secrecy. Time. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a conspiracy. I parked the car in front of our home, but I didn't walk in. Not yet. I sat in the car for a long time, engine off, windows rolled up. The house stood in front of me like it had a secret to keep. Warm light spilled from the kitchen window. I could hear faint laughter, clinking of dishes, music playing. Bill Withers, of all people. Lovely day. My hands rested on the steering wheel, cold and stiff. Maybe I misheard them. Maybe it wasn't what it sounded like. People say things in strange ways when they're scared. Or guilty. But then again, denial isn't just a river in Egypt, it's where I built my whole house. And right now, I was sitting in the driveway of that house, watching it glow like everything inside was normal. I forced a breath in, shook out my fingers, and pasted on my everyday smile. The one that says, I'm fine. The one I wore to parent-teacher conferences, funerals, and every family photo where Jace forgot to stand close. When I walked through the front door, they both turned and lit up like Christmas morning. There you are, Jace said, pouring me a glass of wine. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. Left my charger. Sarah, no, Odessa, was chopping onions. Her cheeks were flushed, probably from the wine. Maybe guilt. Maybe both. She gave me that same half smile I used to love when we were kids. Now it looked like makeup smeared over a crack in the wall. Dinner was already halfway prepped. Music on. Candle lit. Wine glasses half full. It could have been a scene from any Thursday night, except I wasn't really there. I was present, but not accounted for. We sat down to eat, and I played along. Nodded, laughed lightly, made a joke about how the hospital food made this taste like a Michelin star meal. But I watched. Closely. The way Jace looked at her too quickly when she spoke. The way she didn't finish sentences when I was looking directly at her. There was something too familiar between them, like they shared a language I didn't understand anymore. At one point, she mentioned an OB appointment. 2 days from now, she said, sipping her wine. Jace immediately jumped in. We should probably reschedule that. The car's due for service, remember? She nodded too quickly, changed the subject. I tilted my head, smiling. How far along are you now? Odessa hesitated. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. Oh, almost 6 months. Her voice cracked. Just for a second, but enough. Something broke in her voice when she lied. That's how I knew it was true. Later, I claimed I was tired, said the hospital had drained me. Jace offered to rub my feet, like nothing was broken. I declined. Just went upstairs. In the bedroom, I locked the door. That lock clicked louder in my ears than anything else that night. I went to his drawer, third one down. That's where he kept the stuff he thought I didn't care about. Manuals, birthday cards, old receipts. And there it was, tucked inside a copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. A book I gave him for Christmas. He'd never opened it. Inside the cover was an ultrasound printout, dated 2 weeks before my hospital stay. Her name in the top corner, the curve of a growing life, right there in black and white. Truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers from the pages of a book. That same week, he forgot our anniversary. Showed up late, no gift, no excuse. I remember thinking something must have happened at work. Turns out it did. Just not the kind I imagined. I sat on the bed, holding the photo like it could explain something. Instead, it confirmed everything. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. My betrayal wasn't fire. It was ice. Cold, sharp, slow-moving. Much later, lying in the dark with the window cracked open, I heard his voice again. He was outside, pacing near the back porch. No, she doesn't know, he said quietly into the phone. I think she suspects, though. Pause. We just have to hold it together a little longer. He laughed. Soft. Nervous. I didn't move, just listened. He knew I was home. He knew I could hear. And he still chose her. I picked up my phone and pressed record. Just a few seconds. Enough. In that moment, I became the ghost in my own marriage. unseen, but still watching. Morning came like it always does. Predictable, kind. I made his lunch like always, cut the sandwich diagonally, just how he liked it. Odessa sipped coffee beside me, rubbing her belly like nothing had changed. Inside, I was making lists, mental checkboxes, quiet calculations. I opened my laptop, created a new folder, labeled it Plan B, dragged the voice memo inside, scanned the ultrasound, saved both. My father used to say, "Never raise your voice, raise your evidence." I didn't know what justice would look like yet, but I was done begging for clarity. I'll stay quiet until silence becomes strategy. I woke up to the smell of morning coffee drifting through the living room. It was early, just light enough to see the dog curled by the door. I fed him. I checked my email. Everything looked routine. Yet something felt off, like a shadow on the wall I couldn't name. My laptop sat open. I must have left the voice memo app running. I didn't remember. Curiosity pulled me in. I saw a file titled Thanksgiving 2 years ago. My hands hovered above the keyboard. I clicked. They were laughing, David talking with Odessa about keeping secrets. At the time, I thought it was childish banter. Gifts, surprise plans. Now, every familiar joke felt like a hidden code. They weren't just recent, they were careful. They were practiced. That recording broke something in me. A door in my mind swung open. I remembered that Thanksgiving evening. Our home warm, aroma of pies, guests smiling. Odessa had just moved in. David called her sweetheart in front of others. I shrugged it off. Laughter, wine, excuses. Later, I found Odessa's bracelet in our bedroom. She said she borrowed perfume for a night. Perfume that smelled like a lie now. Back then, I believed every word. Trust isn't blind. It's tranquilized. I pulled out paper, notebook, pen. I began logging memories. Odd glances, deleted texts, empty promises. It wasn't about revenge yet. It was about truth. I asked myself, did I allow this? Did I teach them I wouldn't notice? I remembered a therapist's voice. People don't hide things they're ashamed of. They hide what they believe you won't see. I saw my house as a stage. They performed in the shadows. I was actor, audience, janitor, all roles minus acknowledgement. Love was real, mine, but it wasn't mutual. That afternoon, I rehearsed confrontations in my head. Words I would say, the ultrasound, proof, tears, anger. Yet every version ended the same. Silence, a hollow room, emptiness. I deleted every draft message, no confrontation yet. I needed control, less expression, more strategy. Evening came. I scrolled, saw a meme Odessa shared. Family isn't always blood. It's about who you can trust. My lips curled. She was sending messages now, presumptuous signs, smug. I responded anonymously with a photo of the ultrasound, a hint at knowledge. No name, no accusation. Then I set up the camera in the guest room where she stayed. A small tripod. A silent witness. If you wait long enough in the dark, liars light their own match. I will watch. I will record. I will remember every misstep. The house was quiet when I woke up. Too quiet. I walked into the kitchen. The scrambled eggs were cold. Toast sat untouched, hardening on a chipped plate. The coffee pot was empty. The TV was on, but muted, just a bright commercial flickering in silence. No Odessa, no Jace. I noticed the back door was left slightly open, like someone left in a hurry. I stood there, staring at it, trying not to let the weight sink in again. But it did. Images flashed. Odessa hugging Jace a little too long in the driveway yesterday. His hand on her back. Her head tilted, laughing, like she belonged there. You're always the last to know what happens in your own home. I walked over to the table. Jace had left his tablet unlocked. I didn't even mean to look, but I saw it. A transaction screen still open. Wire transfer. $5,000. Destination. A women's clinic Odessa once mentioned in passing. It wasn't an accident. They were planning, coordinating. Moving money like it meant nothing. I needed answers. And not the kind that come from confrontation, the kind that hold up in court. I texted Judah, my old college friend, now a family attorney in Dallas. We met years ago when I was still idealistic enough to believe everyone meant what they said. Judah was always blunt, never sugarcoated. I sent him everything I had, the ultrasound photo, the bank screenshot, snippets of the voice recording. He replied within the hour. Don't go emotional, go legal. Words are wind, paper is power. That afternoon, I dug in. I reviewed credit card bills, statement dates, notarized forms from the house, anything that had signatures, Odessa's handwriting on a delivery confirmation, Jace's initials on a clinic form dated 2 weeks before my surgery. My hands were cold but steady. I wasn't scared anymore, not in the way I used to be. I scanned everything, made a folder, uploaded it all to the cloud. I wasn't building a case out of bitterness, I was building it out of survival. We had lunch at Mom's the next day. Casual backyard setup, lawn chairs, paper plates, chicken salad. Odessa was already there when I arrived. Big smile, her hand on her belly. Jace joined a few minutes later, carrying a gift bag. He handed it to her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Odessa opened it, laughed. Baby socks. Everyone oohed. I took a sip of water, looked right at them and asked, "Who picked the baby registry? I noticed the shipping address doesn't match our home." Her smile twitched. Jace spoke too quickly. "Oh, it's just a mistake, we were—" Odessa jumped in. "It's probably my friend setting it up. She used her info." I nodded. Mom was across the table. Her eyes met mine, not shocked, just tired, protective even. I reached into my purse, pulled out the printed bank transaction, and laid it flat beside my plate. Said nothing. They both froze. A cousin shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed. The moment hovered. Back home, I found an envelope on the front porch. Legal stationery. Inside, a preliminary affidavit. Something about property arrangements. Odessa's name mentioned in legal terms. My stomach turned. Then the phone rang. "Mom." Her voice low. "This family matters more than papers. Don't do this. Let it go for peace." Peace. No. Peace built on silence is just permission in disguise. I called Judah. "File mine. Let them respond to this." He warned me. Said it might get messy. I told him I'd clean up whatever was left standing. That night, I sat on the porch. The air was thick, street lights humming. I decided I wouldn't scream, wouldn't beg, wouldn't plead, but I'd show up to that family gathering with a folder in hand, calm voice, eyes steady. I thought of what Dad used to say. You don't have to be loud to be heard. I stood in front of the mirror, dropped my shoulders, took a breath. No more blind trust. The house had a new kind of silence, not the peaceful kind you look forward to after a long day. This was hollow, sharp. Even the air felt like it was holding its breath. I'd wake up, walk into the kitchen, and the coffee pot would still be full. No clinking dishes, no footsteps overhead. Odessa stopped talking altogether, unless she had to. Her bedroom door stayed closed, locked. In a house that wasn't even hers, Jace had turned robotic. Up before sunrise, out the door like clockwork. No goodbye kisses, no check-ins, just gone. He didn't even pretend anymore. It didn't feel like betrayal anymore. It felt like retreat. They're not hiding the affair anymore, I told myself, folding laundry in silence. They're hiding from what comes next. I wasn't angry, not in the way I had been. I felt strangely calm, like the sky before thunder cracks. 2 mornings later, I met Judah at a quiet diner near downtown. I liked that it wasn't flashy. Just honest food and space to think. He slid into the booth with a small notepad and his usual no-nonsense expression. No pleasantries. He flipped through the folder I handed him. Photos, emails, ultrasound scans, bank statements. "You're not paranoid," he said. "You're methodical." I looked down at my hands. If I file, what am I really starting? Judah leaned in. You file, you fight, and they'll come swinging, emotionally, legally. Are you prepared for that? I didn't answer right away. I wasn't scared of conflict. I was scared of what it would cost. Years of building a life, a reputation, a family name. I asked about everything: property rights, inheritance clauses, even the legality of Odessa staying in our home. He laid it out clean. "You've got more leverage than you think. Don't fight like them. Fight smarter." His words stayed with me as I drove home. When I walked into the bedroom, the first thing I noticed was the photo frame on the dresser, face down. It was our wedding photo. I stood there staring at it. She must have done that, probably while pretending to tidy up. Passive message received. I picked up the frame, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared into a version of myself I barely recognized. My chest tightened. Not from heartbreak, but from the quiet grief of giving too much. Missed anniversaries. Apologies I accepted when I shouldn't have. Every time I swallowed my instincts to keep the peace. And I cried, not loud, not messy, just a slow, steady drip of years I'd never get back. "I wasn't crying because they betrayed me," I whispered. "I cried because I let them believe I wouldn't do anything about it." That night, I sat on the living room floor with my laptop and the security footage from the guest room camera. Odessa was pacing, on the phone. "She's starting to act weird," she said. "I think she might know." Then, quiet laughter. "Don't worry, she always backs down. She won't do anything drastic." That was the shift. Not rage, not sadness, strategy. I pulled out a notebook and drew 3 columns: evidence, motive, leverage. I filled it in with the precision of someone who's been underestimated one too many times. Then I texted Judah. "Let's move forward, quietly, strategically, no emotion, just facts." The next day, I cleaned the kitchen like it was any other Saturday. I reset the table, lit candles, not out of warmth, but control. I texted Jace and Odessa, asking them to join me for dinner. No explanation. Just, "Let's eat together, for old time's sake." They both replied within minutes. Curious, nervous, but agreeable. That evening, I dressed simply, hair back, calm face. I served their favorite dishes, poured wine, made small talk, played my part. They didn't ask questions. They just played along, like people walking into a room without realizing the floor's already been pulled. And just before dessert, I stood. I set a folder down in the center of the table, looked at both of them, and said, "We need to talk." I pulled into the driveway just as the sun dipped behind the neighbor's roofline. The porch light hadn't turned on yet, but something else caught my eye. An envelope. Thick, cream-colored, no postage, hand-delivered. My name printed in bold. But the return address wasn't personal. It was a law firm, one I recognized from the corner of my mother's checkbooks. I stood there a while, keys still in hand. Then I opened it. Inside, a legal notice. Statement of asset reassignment. My name stripped from the deed. Odessa's name added. Jace's signature. Neat, practiced, no note, no heads up. Just legal language, clean, cold. I remembered my father once saying, "The paper never lies until someone pays it to." They did it. Quietly. Legally. I wasn't shocked. Not fully. But the finality of it, being erased by signature, cut deeper than I expected. And for the first time in this whole thing, I felt invisible. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen, scrolling through my phone, when a text pinged from an old neighbor. "Hey, saw the newsletter. Hope you're all right." I clicked the attached image, a blurb from my mother's church bulletin. It talked about a new season of family growth, a beloved daughter's blessings, and, buried halfway down, a note about transfer of ownership for household continuity. No names, but it didn't need them. An hour later, another message came in from a high school friend. "Just saw Odessa's post. You okay?" I clicked again. A photo of her and Jace, smiling in front of my front door, with a caption, "Some gifts come early, building our future one day at a time." Underneath, a comment. "It's amazing what pregnancy brings out in people." I stared at the screen for a long while. Not angry, just emptied out. When I walked outside to get the mail, a neighbor nodded awkwardly, not rude, just distant, like I was suddenly hard to look at. I sat down later that day with a pen and notepad. I tried to draft a letter to Lawson, factual, calm, adult, but every word I wrote felt like I was handing them more ground to stand on. I paused, then remembered Judah's voice. Let them see the proof. Let them face the truth. So, I got to work. I pulled out every document I had: bank statements, old deeds, utility bills, screenshots of texts, voicemail recordings. I called Judah. He told me to start comparing signatures, look for mismatches, anything that could prove tampering or premeditation. I printed everything, scanned it all, made digital backups, triple saved them to a cloud folder under a name no one would guess. The next morning, I went to the county clerk's office, pulled property records, read every line. There it was, my father's will, notarized and crystal clear. Joint ownership, no alterations without full consent. They didn't have consent. They had signatures. And now I had evidence. By the time I got home, I didn't feel erased anymore. I felt armed. That night, dinner was already set, just like I planned 2 days ago. The calm wasn't fake, it was loaded. Jace showed up first, shirt pressed, smile forced. Odessa followed. She brought a gift bag, some meaningless gesture. Cookies, or maybe a scented candle. I didn't care. We sat down. I served. I smiled. They chatted. About the weather. About a movie. Then Lawson bowed his head and began grace. I didn't close my eyes. I waited. And when he lifted his, I cleared my throat. Before we eat, this. I pulled the folded copy of the deed from my clutch and laid it flat on the table. Silence. This is what you changed without telling me. Nobody moved. Odessa blinked fast, her fork mid-air. Jace looked down. My mother stiffened, but she didn't look surprised, just tired. I didn't raise my voice, didn't plead. I just tapped the date. You removed my name. This isn't some oversight. This is deliberate. And here, I pointed, this is my father's will. I ended with, I deserve the rest. The room stayed frozen. After dinner, I rinsed my plate, turned off the kitchen lights, and went upstairs without a word. In my room, I sat on the bed, opened my phone, and scrolled. Recordings, photos, PDFs, county records. I backed up everything again, to 3 places. Then I opened my notes app, typed a sentence, saved it under a file named For Later. They tried to remove me, but paper doesn't own a person's soul. I closed the laptop. No shaking hands, no tears, just breath. I wasn't broken. I was preparing. The rain tapped my window pane as though it was trying to tell me something I already knew. I sat on the edge of the bed, pulling a folded letter from the old chest in the corner. Mom's handwriting, shaky, uneven, but unmistakable. The note from Dad. Marisol is rightful heir. Words I suspected, prayed for, but never held until now. I read it again. The guilt, the expectations, the suspicion, all wrapped in his script. I thought back to childhood, to the times I patched up broken china, made dinner quiet when arguments rose, swallowed tears so no one else had to witness them. I was always the steady one, the one fixing things. When Odessa first moved in, she carried herself like she belonged. A smile, a tilt of her head. She'd say something under her breath in front of Mom. I remember her saying once, Marisol never had the charm my sister always seems to. Mom didn't correct her. Anyone would think I was born invisible. Later that evening, Mom brought out a dusty family album. Old photographs, yellowed edges. I flipped through until I found one. Our family reunion, Mom and Odessa facing the camera, my spot blank, not faded, cut out, clean line. I held the page, felt the weight of erasure. The way I exist in the margins, always background. The rage wasn't at Odessa now. It was at the silence, at Mom, at years of being unseen. I asked softly, why was my face removed from this photo? She looked away, said damage, or must have torn, or something vague. But I saw the edges were intact, the background uninterrupted. Someone got to choose that. Choosing absence speaks louder than choosing presence. Judah helped me understand the cost of missing name on deeds, policies, inheritance, financial exclusion, social erasure. They had done more than rewrite papers. They had rewritten identity. I thought, If they erase my name, do they erase me? Emotion roared inside. Loss of identity hurts more than betrayal. They stole more than assets. They unmade me in others' eyes, but I won't let them unmake me in my own. A family gathering loomed. Mom called it just a get-together. But my heart knew better. Relatives, neighbors, someone would bring up birthdays or church. Odessa glowing with her pregnancy, Jace with his forced smile. I walked in carrying a folder of evidence. No fanfare, no show, just proof. I wore simple clothes. Soft light hit my face, steady and honest. Dessert was served. Plates, laughter, small talk about weather and work. And then I stood. Before dessert, I want to show something. I pulled out the photo, cut out face. Placed it beside Dad's letter. Words visible. Photo clear. Gasps. Odessa's face went red. Mom's eyes flickered. People shifted in their chairs. I looked at them all. Choosing who belongs in a family isn't up to anyone but truth. No shout, no betrayal with volume. Just quiet admitting what's been hidden. After gathering applause or silence, it didn't matter much. I felt something break open inside me. Rage, dignity awakened. I went home. Packed a small box, the torn wedding picture, letters, photographs I once kept hidden. Proof of who I was. Not for revenging, for remembering. I whispered into the dark. You are not what they cut out of the photo. Turning off the lights, I felt the night close in. But it wasn't smothering. It felt like witnessing something I'd earned. I will no longer be the ghost they pretend doesn't deserve acknowledgement. The house felt different that night, like it was waiting for something to snap. I stepped into the living room, where the will reading was about to begin. Every chair was taken. Relatives who hadn't visited in years. Neighbors pretending to be neutral. Old friends caught between gossip and guilt. I wore a dark coat, the folder of evidence resting inside the inner pocket. My steps were measured. Calm. I didn't smile. And I didn't need to. That kind of power didn't need decoration. Odessa sat beside Jace like they were posing for a portrait. Mom was flanked by lawyers she probably thought were there to protect her interests. The moment I entered, the buzz quieted. Conversations dropped mid-sentence. Everyone turned. The attorney, a gray-haired man with a voice like gravel, stood and held up a sealed envelope marked Final Testament Estate, Thomas Trant. He cleared his throat. I glanced at my watch. My father had once told me, justice isn't loud, it's ink on paper. And that's how truth lasts. I held on to that. He began to read. It started predictably. Assets divided, properties listed. Odessa's name showed up more than mine. I felt my jaw tense. Then he paused, pulled out another sheet, a codicil. In Mr. Trant's handwriting, he said, lifting it, dated and notarized. This page revokes any property transfers made after his death and reinstates full joint ownership to Marisol Trant. The room cracked. Gasps, whispered curses, a sharp intake of breath from Jace. Odessa froze. Mom's lips moved, but no words came out. The attorney went on. According to this document, Mr. Trant intended for his daughter, Marisol Trant, to remain the rightful heir to all family estates and assets. It didn't hit me all at once. The wave rolled in slowly. Relief, followed by something sharper. Vindication. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. But I looked directly at each face. Odessa stood up. Her chair scraped the floor. This is a fake, she yelled. A last-minute change, forged. He was confused near the end. Jace tried to tug her back down, but I stepped forward, didn't raise my voice. I pulled out a notarized deed, one with Dad's clean handwriting from months before his passing, a letter from him to me, emails from the estate office, everything aligned. Odessa's words stumbled. Mom muttered, "Let's be reasonable." I turned to her. Reasonable doesn't erase truth. The silence was heavy. Some eyes dropped. Others watched, stunned, as if the room had cracked open and let light pour in. This isn't about money, I said. It never was. It's about my father's name, my name, and the fact that truth was buried to serve ego. I reached into the folder again, pulled out the family photo, the one with my face cut out, and placed it beside the signed codicil. You erased me from pictures, tried to erase me from paper, but I was never gone. You just didn't want to see me. Some people nodded. Some avoided my gaze. Odessa's face was stiff, her eyes wet but hard. Jace said nothing. The lawyer read the final statement. My name, on record, restored. Afterward, people filtered out. Odessa vanished first. Jace behind her. Mom stood still for a long moment, staring at the wall, her shoulders sagging. I moved through the thinning crowd until I found Sidonie Vale, Dad's old friend. She hugged me, no words needed. Just a firm hand at the back of my shoulder. A steadying warmth. Later that night, in my bedroom, I opened the folder again. These pages, once used to strike my name, now bore it again with full force. I reached for the paper crane from the hospital, unfolded from a drawer, placed it gently beside the stack. They tried to remove me with ink, I whispered. But I remain written into this life. The light in my new apartment isn't harsh like it used to be back home. It's soft, gentle. I wake up without a weight on my chest. The silence here isn't empty. It's earned. I make coffee, flip the radio to a soft jazz station, no talk shows, no noise. I slide the last box toward the closet. Inside, old journals, Dad's cufflinks, a scarf Odessa gave me when we were still pretending to be close. I don't toss anything, just place them neatly. Out of the way. My therapist once told me healing doesn't look like what people think. It's not clean, she said. It's not painless. But peace makes its home in you when you stop begging for it. I've been journaling again, just little notes. I don't rant, I record. Last night, I slept without waking once. I didn't clench my jaw through breakfast. And when I passed the framed photo of Dad and me on the shelf, I didn't flinch. I opened the window, let the breeze stir the curtains. So this is what freedom feels like, I whispered, and meant it. Later that morning, the mail arrived, an envelope with familiar handwriting. Odessa. Inside, an invitation. Her baby shower. Handwritten, no return address. No note, just a time and place. I sat with it, not angry, not shaken, just curious. For a moment, I pictured showing up. But that's the thing. My mind didn't go to revenge or redemption. It paused. Quietly. So instead, I sat down and wrote her back. Short. I wish you peace. I no longer need closure, just distance. I folded it neatly and dropped it in the mailbox without ceremony. They say you can forgive from afar. They're right. I didn't need an apology to move on. I just needed a door to close. A week passed. Then Mom called. She didn't leave a voicemail, just a text. Outside. I let her in. She looked smaller, hair pinned too tightly, hands trembling just slightly. I didn't hug her. She didn't reach for me. We stood in my kitchen as I poured tea. I didn't come to ask forgiveness, she said, voice soft. I just wanted to see if you were okay. I nodded. Nothing more. She sat. The silence wasn't cold. It was just there. I was afraid, she whispered, of losing what little I had left. I tried to protect the wrong things. I looked at her. Not with anger, just clarity. You can't protect what you already lost, she cried. Quiet tears, no sobbing. I didn't reach for her. I didn't shut her out either. She left not long after. I didn't walk her to the door. Didn't watch her go. That part of the road is hers to walk. A few days later, I signed up to volunteer at a legal aid clinic, helping women, some bruised, some just broken in ways no one can see. My story gives them something to hold on to. I don't talk about names. I don't even use my mother or my sister, just, there was a time I thought silence was safer. One woman said, "You helped me leave after 17 years. I just smiled. That was enough. My therapist smiled too. You're turning wounds into wisdom, she said. I finally believed it. Yesterday, I adopted a dog, Charlie. He's not trained. He chewed through one of my shoes, but he greets me like I'm the only person in the world who matters. We walk every morning, around the block, past a bakery, a park. I see families, young couples, old men feeding ducks. Life, unfolding. Sometimes, I look out the window before bed, Charlie snoring at my feet, and I say it out loud. There are so many ways to begin again. I don't need a perfect ending. I don't even need all the answers. Just this quiet, this truth. A new story starts. Not flawless, not polished, but it's mine.